Hey, it's Cam for Investors Underground. Today, Nate and I will be walking you through a stock that was called out in the Investors Underground chat room that more than doubled from the alert. And we'll be pointing out a couple of key points that a lot of new traders don't consider when looking to long or short a stock. I really hope you guys have been enjoying all the content that we've been putting out for free on the YouTube channel. Between trading, moderating the chat room, and creating video lessons for the members of the Investors Underground community, it can sometimes be a little tough finding the time to put up lessons for you guys on YouTube on a regular basis. If you like what you're watching, be sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. I really enjoy reading all your feedback, and if I see lots of new subscribers, I'll be sure to put out more free videos often. So I get emails regularly from either members who are new to the Investors Underground community or members who are looking to sign up, some of whom don't have a lot of experience trading and are looking for guidance on how to get started or improve their current trading. I get a pretty common question, "Hey Cam, how did you get started?" Well, around 5 years ago, I joined the Investors Underground community as a paying subscriber, just like anyone else. To rewind a little before that, I'd worked in a kind of normal job out of school and managed to save up enough money to quit and basically travel the world for a little while. While visiting the USA, I met a guy who called himself a day trader, and it was the first time I had heard the term. And as soon as I got home, I Googled it and was immediately intrigued. I had this feeling when I quit my job that there was a different way of doing things, a better way of making money than the 9 to 5 grind. And the more I researched about day trading, the more I believed it could be the answer. Of course, I knew nothing about how to do it, but one of the things I read was that around 90% of people who attempt to do it by themselves fail at it. I knew I had to do everything I could to avoid being one of those guys, so I continued to do research and stumbled across a YouTube video of a few different traders, one of whom was Nate. And I knew immediately that this was a guy who knew what he was talking about, but at the same time, I really liked his humble and kind of chilled out vibe. I followed him on Twitter and saw the kind of numbers he was posting up every day, while at the same time remaining super grounded and focused on becoming a better trader himself, while also elevating other members to his level. I just really liked that whole picture. So that was when I signed up for a quarterly subscription. So as a member, I'd participate in the webinars, read the scans every day, and watch every trade real closely in the chat room. And I'd reach out to Nate pretty much every day with questions. With his guidance and a few of the other members in the chat room, I got up to speed with the strategy and became more consistent. But I couldn't help thinking through the whole process that Nate must have to spend a lot of time with members, answering real similar questions all the time and spending, hours mentoring me personally. And at that time, there was like 150 or 200 people in the chat room. So I hit him up with a suggestion that there might be a better way to condense all this information, outlining the key points of the whole strategy in some kind of DVD course that people could watch on their own time and get up to speed in a more effective and efficient manner. So the Textbook Trading DVD was the first project that I worked on with Nate, and now on Investimonials, it's the #1 day trading course in the entire world. We got a lot of feedback from the members and people who loved the first DVD, wondering if we could make a sequel that focused on live trading action. So we recorded Nate's main trading monitor every day for a year, then took the most valuable trading lessons, both winners and losers, and sped up the price action a little. We both did director's cut style commentary over the top, and that was the birth of the second DVD, Tandem Trader. These DVDs hold both the #1 and the #2 spot for DVD courses on Investimonials out of over 300 other options. And the feedback we received from people who've watched them is that this is the most crucial piece of the puzzle to push through the steep learning curve that's often associated with day trading. It wasn't too long ago that I was a new trader myself, and I understand that the standard pricing for these DVD courses can be out of reach for, someone starting out. So I basically wanted to extend a deeply discounted offer to all the YouTube subscribers to be able to get started with both DVDs, plus that same quarterly Investors Underground Elite subscription that I had when I started, for a total price of $12.97. And when you consider the standalone price for each of the items in this bundle, this is a pretty wild deal. If you type into your browser bit.ly/camsaving, it'll take you to a custom checkout that you won't find anywhere else online for this special deal. I've also put a link in the description so you can click on that to access the deal as well. And I really think this is going to be a great way for new traders to get a solid foundation on how to day trade like the moderators at Investors Underground. Anyway, here's an idea of the content we provide for our members on a daily basis. If you've got any questions about this video or trading in general, just reach out. I'm at cam@investorsunderground.com. I'll be able to help you out with your questions. Now we're going to switch over to Nate for his lesson.
What's going on, guys? Two stocks I really wanted to talk about today, and one was a big breakout that we predicted, and one was a big breakdown that we predicted. And both were trades that I made. Both were trades that we traded in the chat room, and overall it was just one crazy day. So basically, CLTX is much like what we've been seeing lately on the really big breakouts, the really big squeezes. So it's a big chart that has broken down. It's been consolidating for a little bit, and then it gets a bunch of volume. It's typically a low floater, something in the 3 million to 5 million to 10 million range, and then it starts to trade 1, 2, 3, up to 5, 10 times what that float is. So in this case, nobody even really knows the exact float, but let's just assume it's 5 million. And if that's the case, it traded 4 times its float. There's a couple different websites that have different numbers, so I'm assuming that it was around a 4.5 to 5 million float, but it doesn't really matter. All that matters is the volume came in, the price trend held, and there was a lot of buyers, and it's likely that shorts got a little bit upside down. So I originally had seen this breaking out to the 120, 130 range after it broke through a buck. And nobody really wants to chase a 30% move, 40% move. And then all of a sudden you see it's at 180, and you think, well, maybe I should have chased it. And then at 180, you're like, I really probably shouldn't. So at that point, you need to wait for it to pretty much pull back, consolidate, and give you a reason to get long. And so that's exactly what we did. And, this thing had gone up, like I said, from basically a buck to 210 all the way up to 250. So I tried it short first, just a very small amount in the 210 range. I was wrong. Started to ramp back up towards the 230s, 250s, and I went ahead and covered. I took it off. So I lost about 25 cents to begin with, but in this market, there is no fighting the front side of a move. And the front side of the move is that way up, and you don't know whether it's going to stop at a 250, 3, 5, or 55 in the case of AQXP. So point being is you need to be very careful. So I went ahead and just took it off, moved on, and I really didn't want to be fighting that trade. I wanted to be looking for the opportunity to get long. So that's exactly what I did. And I told the chat that what I really wanted to see was it to kind of stuff a couple times, retest, fail, and wash out towards that 180 to 190 level. And if it washed out around there, then I'm going to start to get excited and potentially accumulate the position. So we've talked a lot in the blog about reclaim, where it starts to break down and it snaps under a particular level and then it breaks out. And while doing that, it's got a base 190s, another base 190, snaps, and everybody thinks, all right, it's going to break down now. And although that's the typical thought process, it might knock out some stops. It might make a couple people, bail. If it starts to hold and it reclaims that level, now all those people that just bailed because they thought it was going to break down are likely going to rebuy. All those people that just short because they thought that it's about to break down are now likely to either cover or fuel us for a nice big move. So that's exactly what we did here. And I got long 188s, 187s, 190s. Then I added a little bit to it. It had a nice big breakout towards the 3s, all the way up towards the 350 level. So went ahead and scaled out along the way through this trade, and it worked out extremely perfectly. And just like I said in the chat room, as you'll see on the chat logs, 205 was the most important piece to really confirm that this was going to continue to go a little bit higher. And that the reason for that is, as much as the 190s were the base, 205s became the top. So what we needed to see is that 205 break, retest, hold, and then continue its breakout towards a higher level. So the same exact thing happened again later in the day, and that's exactly where I got long once again. You can see here a higher low starts to ramp up, a higher low, and I wasn't involved at this point. I thought it was a little too early. I was thinking about a 3:30 p.m. type of move, and at that point, that's when I would start to get interested. So as I call it a premature move, I looked for the nice little washout and pullback, and I told chat that I liked this on dips with a risk at 240s, and that was my game plan. And so it started to ramp back up a little bit, pull back, ramp up, pull back, and I started long at 270s. I added mid 290s, and it was immediately that it popped. After a quick pullback, it immediately went through 3, and I knew at that point, because look, I've been on the wrong side of a trade many times in the past, and I know that this little candle is usually the candle that gets me, where I'm about to get paid on the short side, and all of a sudden it just rips up 40 cents. I get nervous, and I debate covering, and a lot of times it's got that huge breakout to follow. That's exactly what we got today, and I got long, and I ended up holding overnight. Had a nice additional almost dollar run per share after hours. I sold out a little bit at 483 and a little bit at 475. I'm holding the rest overnight, and I have about a 290 average on that. So this is a perfect ABCD type setup. This is a perfect reclaim. Reclaim I talk about in the DVD, and everything else that I've just talked about right now, we talk about in Tandem Trader.